Dear friends, Inside World Spirits, welcome to a new edition, The World of Spirits. My name is Wolfram Ortner. I warmly welcome you and also Gerhard Maass from Tyrol. It is curious how the largest apricot plantation in Austria is managed in Tyrol.
Yes, it is certainly a bit difficult, but we love challenges. We love doing something different from what others do. And grapes, not apples and not pears, but apricots in Tyrol.
Okay, but only measuring tape, mass brand, mass band work. The whole thing has developed from Bauer, or what is the story actually of an entire operation?
The story is actually that we are located, of course, where Claudia is the Roman road that runs through, and we own the famous Roman tower. It was actually a watchtower, standing there for at least 2,000 years, and probably our harbor site is around it. And we have been operating this now in the 4th generation with quarrying and distillery.
But you also do some other things or hobbies besides fruit growing and distillery?
Yes, of course we do several things, but if you do it with passion, if you enjoy it, then it's actually not much work.
Yes, but you are a hunter too, right?
Yes, but that's private.
So let's drop the topic then. Let's drop the topic. Let's continue talking about work. What do you actually produce, Yusan?
In fruit cultivation, we mainly grow apricots, and we currently have a stock of trees that we have. Then we also have apple pears, a bit of plums and cherries. Spanling is quite well known in our area. That's a wild plum. And yes, actually everything we need a bit for the distillery.
Basically everything that has to do with fruit, or specifically with apricots. Does everything go into the tanks for you, or is it also sold as fresh fruit?
The large part goes into the tanks. I must say the biggest part of the nice tanks. And the rest goes to the fresh market or into jam.
Jam? That must be quite excellent.
Yes, it is very excellent. We are not even allowed to call it jam. It is a fruit spread because we have 70% fruit in it.
Does a bit of apricot schnapps also go in there?
No, too bad.
Too bad? The distillery? You have practically developed from Durabau to mass brand. You have set up a brand new designer distillery in front of the house. What have you done there?
Yes, how should I put it? We are, of course, in the midst of a tourist region, and I say we have been distilling for 4 generations now, and it has developed more and more over the last 20 years, all around us, like Ischls, etc. Sölden, all the ski areas, and the guests came and wanted spirits, and the spirits were known, but they also wanted to see the appropriate building for it. And that's why we have really developed further. We built a really cool building, which is already too small again, and as it looks, we have to build something new again. Let's get back to apricots.
That the apricots are at home in the Wachau, we all know. How does one come up with the idea of building the largest apricot plantation in the middle of the mountains of Austria?
Yes, we had actually always saved up, and 20 years ago, we had a huge problem with fire blight. We cleared everything out twice. So we cleared about 6 hectares twice in a row because it destroyed the colors and everything. And the apricot has always fascinated me. I have always conducted experiments with the apricot. What kind of rootstocks? What kind of trees? Where are the trees? And yes, one day I realized up there with the apple, because the apple itself is now hard to sell without the blackening, or if you have a lot of apples, who takes them all? And that's why we started with the apricot. And now we are at 6 hectares. Apricot is of course very difficult for us, especially regarding the spring fruits. 2001, but sandy soil is an excellent location because the apricot loves little water, and we have annual precipitation of 500 to 600 milliliters per year, and that suits this location.
And how high is the boat?
6.
And with the frost? With all the spraying due to the bloom? Does the weather do that for you? Or do you have to spray yourselves?
You have to spray yourself, yes. We have overhead irrigation everywhere, a frog irrigation, and temperatures down to -4 or 5 degrees are actually not a problem. The worst we have had in the last few years were the wind bursts, and if you are not prepared, there is nothing you can do.
How does this climate develop? So that it grows so well?
Yes, we are kind of a basin, and we have a microclimate there, which has been known for at least 300 years. Brutz is quite famous. 2001 from the dam. There was even once a huge tree nursery where the trees were cultivated. So that was around the 18th to 19th century when the trees were delivered all over Austria, 2001.
Patrick, hello.
Hello.
When I look up in the book, Botanical Compendium, what comes before about ginger?
Yes, on one hand, that it appears in gin as a botanical, that there are gins that predominantly feature ginger, and on the other hand, where it comes from, the Asian region, that means it is not native to us, is not cultivated, and would not be winter hardy.
What healing effects does ginger actually have?
Yes, it has about 1,000 benefits. So it thins the blood, it is anti-inflammatory and antibacterial. So many components.
I also believe that when you have a cold, you should drink ginger tea. I think it goes in that direction as well.
Exactly. A finely sliced infusion in hot water is very good.
It would also be worth trying when you have a cold. But now, when we talk about spirits, how is ginger processed? Only the root itself or with the whole outer part? Or do we need to separate the outer part from the core? How do you do that?
Yes, it is a rhizome, which is not quite the same as a root. That means it continues to grow and then produces a new plant. And I use what is here on the plate, so basically with the skin, because there are many important minerals in it. Substances that also come through. That means scent, flavor compounds. I would use them whole. Chopping them up fresh would be ideal. It's always a bit difficult to calculate the whole thing, which is why it is often used dried.
Very, very often people really do this wrong, separating the skin more or less from the inside. And you say that many minerals and vitamins are indeed in the outer part of the root. Did you actually know that ginger, when you make ginger, also brings a lot of citrus tones, from citrus to orange?
Yes, when you smell the ginger, you primarily smell citrus notes. As soon as you have it in your mouth, the spiciness comes in, but the citrus notes are dominant, as are all the essential oils.
If you were to use ginger for specific dishes, think of our herb traffic light. What would you use ginger for?
I definitely mentioned gin. It would also be for flavoring, bitters, so just for the aroma. Even though it has the bitterness in it, I would only use it for flavoring.
I even believe that one can make the gin bitter, and I think I would even use it for elixirs.
It's conceivable, yes.
How would you use it in connection with a dish?
Yes, that's not quite easy because it is a very, very strong flavor. The citrus-like is very dominant. I was thinking, where is it used? In Asian cuisine, especially curries, and I imagined a somewhat, perhaps, daring combination of curry and apricot brandy.
I can imagine that very well. Thank you once again for the tutoring session. I'm already looking forward to your next appearance. Thank you. Alex, it's really nice that you came to us.
Thank you for allowing me to be here.
Yes, please, no problem. We are always happy when we get sensible questions, and today we have the decrepit Pope of Austria. So go ahead with your questions.
I have always thought that apricots are relatively difficult to grow. Why do people actually grow them?
Not much has been asked, you crazy dog.
Yes, she is right, but she is just difficult. She is a challenge. I have been doing it for 20 years now, and there is no advice for apricots. There is actually no one who helps, and you actually learn it every year. I have to honestly say, to keep it under control. But you never really have it under control. I also realized why the apricot is female. The apple is not a problem. The apricot is very difficult.
Is that in other languages? Yes, I think the comparison is flawed.
And what I would like to know is that I am occasionally at a ski hut in winter. And what is actually the difference between a real apricot and a flavored apricot?
You really have to pay attention. Yes, with a real apricot. The real apricot truly brings the beautiful aromas with it in the nose, like an almond, like marzipan, even the apricot-like, the jam-like of the apricot. And with the artificial apricot or the spirit, You can say that it has a lot of candy-like qualities in it. That's more like candy. It has a lot of sweetness. The noble apricot doesn't have that.
Alex, thank you. Thank you for your wife. Sorry, word full. But so you know how it is and what perfect apricots are, we will taste 3 perfect apricots together today. So, ladies and gentlemen, 3 perfect apricots. But how does the perfect apricot taste? What can we expect? Because it is not flavored, but really made from brandy. First, we have typical apricot tones that lean towards peach. A lot of fruit testers, where one must be careful that the fruit tester does not turn into vinegar tester, and then partly rose tones, rosewood tones, and just a little bit, if it's gentle, Mr. Maass. Green tones. Personally, I don't like them that much, but unfortunately, it's also present in bad apricots. The same applies to the scent, as well as the taste. So, scent and taste are basically identical in the apricot, and in the taste, you also have bitter almond tones that partly resemble marzipan. The difference between marzipan and bitter almond is that rose oil is included. That's why you have these rose tones. Yes, now I've actually talked enough. Now you explain to me how your apricot smells and tastes. Let's try it out.
Setting up nicely.
Definitely.
When setting up, we immediately have the rose tones, apricot tones, lightly brushed, bitter almond. It reflects on the palate. Then again, the jammy quality of the peach tones, nice density, is very aromatic. The fruit tester has everything you need for a nice apricot.
You can also taste and smell a bit of the proximity to South Tyrol, a bit of cantuccini, which means the whole almond pastry is also a bit present. But it is a beautifully balanced, powerful apricot. It's not for nothing that it is so good. Let's try the next one. The next apricot comes from Styria, a true master, a real powerhouse. Powerhouse because he is not only big and strong, but also because he is actually one of the initiators of strong spirits in Austria. He makes products that go up to 60%. Sorry if you have a full nose there. Here we are. Alex, how much percent alcohol? 52% alcohol. You stand for women. For strong women and men, that's a lot. Yes, definitely. The Tinnauer family has a business in Gamlitz, has fruit growing, has winemaking, and is one of the top producers. Overall, especially here in Austria. Let's try again. Will you comment on it too?
No, let you comment on it.
So, there's a bit of a problem when the product has a higher alcohol content, that the alcohol somewhat masks the entire aroma, meaning the scent. That's why you really have to smell carefully what you are smelling. But it is again one-to-one basically the aroma that your apricot has. It has all the peach tones, it has all the typical apricot tones. It is a delicate fruit ester, they are very, very subtle. Green tones, just as I personally like it very, very much. A bit of marzipan, 2001 bitter coat, but the whole thing is delicate in the background, but primarily dominated by the fruit ester and flavor. Wow. Wow, there is power. Joy arises. I can hardly speak. It's such an explosion of flavor on the palate. So, this is a powerful product. For 5% alcohol, totally harmonious. Endless length, beautiful density. Endless length, a super density, compact, and an absolute reflection, basically. Just once more. Aromatic. More aromatic than the scent. Franz Dino, congratulations on the work.
Yes, very nice. Apricot.
So, and then we actually go into the classic Marian tone. We go into the Eberhau. Bernhard Hellerschmid also has a business there, producing a variety of products, which he also trades. But above all, the main product of the company or distillery is indeed the apricot. He makes a variety of quality levels from apricot liqueurs to apricot spirits. And what we are now tasting together is apricot brandy. In terms of style, I find the Bauer apricots to be a bit different, right? What variety have you actually planted?
I have planted all French varieties. These are all French types, but on a special rootstock. And the typical thing for the French ones is that they usually have a fragrant, simple note.
The product has a lot of spicy notes. For me, not the typical fruity string notes, but it has a lot of spice aromas. But it is very typical. Let's try the taste. It reminds me of Christmas spices. Almost a bit of the taste. It's quite pleasant. It's a bit softer than yours and your Franz Dino's, but it has, of course, less alcohol percentage. However, it is just as beautifully balanced a product. It has a good length. Everything is there. So, ladies and gentlemen, we can really congratulate the producers of the Maruden. They did a very good job.
The word was you. I have one more question.
Oh, I mentioned that twice before.
What is it actually about this almond marzipan taste?
In technical language, one must say, let's put it this way, the chemical designation is benzyl increased. That means if basically too many kernels are processed, or just, if too many stones are processed, then, or just stones more or less, one speaks of a typical benzaldehyde tone. That means one has no way to feel or perceive or taste any fruit, but only in small amounts. But it is normal with stone fruits, namely the so-called bitter almond and marzipan tone, that is simply a fixed component. A stone fruit consists of the stone, consists of the fruit, which is why stone fruits will always have fruit aromas or must have them. However, the stone is often relatively large in relation to the fruit volume, which is why there will always be more stone aromas. But that is always a symbiosis that must always interact. And with stone fruits, whether it is a plum or a cherry, the so-called bitter almond tone is often present. These are roasted almonds, if you will, or marzipan. And as I have already mentioned, the difference between almond and marzipan is that in marzipan, in almond mass, rose oil is included. That is indeed the big difference, but now, before another question arises, we will soon exceed our broadcast time. Therefore, I would like to thank both of you for coming, for accompanying me, and for spending the day with me. And I would also like to sincerely thank our viewers for watching and say goodbye now. See you again until the next episode of Inside World Spirits with Wolfram Ortner.